Yeah. Okay. Hi, Autumn.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good. I'm still eating my yogurt. Excuse me.
Okay.
Here you go. Play it on Sunday.
Wait to see who else joins us. What's the weather like by your house?
It was storming really hard a few minutes ago and then it just stopped.
Okay.
She was good responding to email. She didn't even text her and call her. She didn't say like.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, thank you.
Good, good. I'm getting ready to head into the office. It's just kind of not great weather where I was at.
Well,
So
no, it's storming all around us, so.
I know it's crazy. So I thought maybe it would be better to just like sit down and take some notes, wait
Yeah.
till it calmed down a little
Yeah.
bit and
Then drive over here,
head in.
yes.
Right. But yeah, I'll see you soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, the weather here is just insane. You never know.
No, it is. And I might have a contractor trying to work outside today. He's like, I think it's gonna rain. I'm like, I think it might be pouring on you. I was gonna check.
You're like, it's not going to be a light drizzle.
Yeah, I'm check the radar because, well, okay, now it is moving a little more northeast, which is nice. Maybe it won't come down this direction. It's really bad in
For
Platte
sure.
County over Liberty right now, but there's a lot more on the way. So, never mind.
Yeah, that's wild. And Tuesdays are also a tough day for it to be bad weather, just since we have so many moving parts at the
Right,
office.
I know. That is
So it's
true.
just kind of a bummer, but hey, maybe tomorrow it snows. Who knows?
That would
At this
probably be the
point,
first for July, even for our weird weather.
that's true, but I wouldn't be surprised at this point anymore.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna close the door. If anybody's gonna join us in the office or not this morning. We'll see if anybody else joins us online. It's not even 9 o'clock yet. You guys are early.
Launch, right?
Yes.
They have a meeting right now at 9?
We normally do. In here. We just meet here, and it's all online on Zoom as well.
So not, but I don't see anyone meeting anywhere in person. Or
No one
like-
has walked in today in person. 2 people are out on an inspection that are normally here.
Okay,
And then I've got Olgie and Autumn on Zoom.
wait, how do I get on Zoom? I'm new, I just joined. I'm not in the Facebook group yet.
Well,
Are you leading it?
I am. Why don't you
Oh,
just sit in
will
here
you
with
sit in
me?
here?
Yes,
Yeah.
please. That would be easier. Okay? It's like, yeah, we have to send you an invite. Yeah. We have a new agent joining us, so give me just a minute. Let her get her stuff.
She's great.
Oh, Ryan Neal. Good morning. Let him on. Good morning, Ryan. How you doing this morning?
Well, hey, I'm good.
I haven't seen you
Morning.
for a while.
I know. I was a little hiatus, but I'm
Okay.
back.
Awesome. Well, welcome back.
I'm glad
Connor,
to
how
be
are you
back.
doing today?
Hey, Megan, good morning. Good.
Good. Now, Kristen was going to send me the presentation for this morning, and I got the calendar invite instead. So I asked Billy to resend it. I'm going to go see if it arrived. If not, we're going to be a little bit winging it, but I think we'll be fine. But let me see if the other one arrives. So hold on a minute. My
Alright.
screen's going to change here.
Just sit next to you so I can see.
Sure.
what's on the screen.
Yeah, nothing yet. Okay. Now get back to where we were. Um, Zoom share. There we go. I'm Megan.
Laura. I
Laura
heard your
says
name.
me.
That's- yeah,
I've
I see
seen you
your
around here.
face.
That's
Yeah,
my-
it's good to
My
meet you
wrap in case it
officially.
gets
Yeah.
cold in here.
All
right. Okay, I was just explaining to people online that Kristen was gonna send me a presentation this morning.
Oh, yeah.
And I got a calendar invite instead of the presentation.
Shoot.
So
Okay,
we're gonna
you're
we're gonna
yeah,
wing it
yeah.
a little bit, so I'm
Okay.
gonna jump back and forth between things.
So,
But basically what we're talking about is steps to working with a seller, the things you need to do. We have these power tools. They're called Kristen's Power Tools, and this is one of them. And they give us a lot of information about what we're going to do and the order that things need to go in and suggested questions and things when you're working with buyers
okay,
and sellers.
yeah.
Last week we focused on buyers. This week we're going to focus on sellers. So step one, when you're getting ready to work with a seller, is if you recall with the buyers, there's certain things you need to do to make sure they're ready to buy a home. Well, it's the same idea with the seller. There's certain things they need to do to make sure they're ready to sell a home. And they just aren't.
Here, I'll close that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I know, we get a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go see if I can pull up the pre-listing interview questionnaire. And then they're all in here.
Oh, yeah.
Pre-listing interview, okay. These are just some basic things that you need to talk to your seller about. Hi, Dominic. Oh, did he come in yet? I make it a little bigger. There we go. Don't have my children's pictures in the background. All right, Dominic's on his way in. Okay, when you go into a pre-listing interview, sometimes you do these on the phone. If somebody calls you and says, I'm interested in selling my house, well, you need some general information first, just so you can work with them. Their name, the property address. Did they know the subdivision it's in? Is their mailing address different? You just want to talk to them in general about them. I always want to get their email and their phone number, obviously. Are they the owners of the home, or are they representing a family member? Like I met with the families the other day. I met with the sister and her brother because mom moved into the nursing home. So one of my questions was, well, is mom still able to make decisions for herself? Is she signing these papers, or are you and brother going to sign? Oh, no, mom still can make decisions. I'm like, okay, well then I need mom's information, please. What's her name? What's her phone number? What's her email? You know, that kind of thing. So you can get all those people into Command and into Dotloop because you're going to be most likely working with them. So you have to have all their basic information. Then it's very helpful to know why they are selling their home. What's the reason? Well, in most cases, mom moved into nursing home, or we're relocating. We have another baby on the way. What's the reason they need to sell? Because many buyers want to know why somebody left that house. Was it something wrong with the house, or was it because of another circumstance? So it's always good to know why they're selling and when they need to move. Like these people I met with, mom's been in the nursing home for a year. So I thought, my gosh, they're probably ready to move right now. The house was still full of furniture. They hadn't cleaned anything out. They're like, well, maybe by the end of September. I'm like, okay, that gives you 2 months to start focusing on getting all the stuff out of the house. Some people move much more slowly than others. Some move more quickly, but you need to know that timeline so you can help guide them through that. Do they need to move in 30 days? That's a whole different process than trying to get somebody out of there in 6 months.
Yeah.
So then you want to get a basic idea of what the house they're trying to sell is like. If you're not in the home when you're doing this pre-listing interview, then you want to just ask them the general questions. How many bedrooms does it have? How many bathrooms? Is there a basement? Is it finished? What kind of style is your home in their minds? Just see how they describe their house. Then when you get there and actually see it yourself, you can do some comparisons onto what they think their home is like versus what it really is.
Mhm.
And that just helps you. You need to know how long they've owned it. If they have a mortgage on it, that'll help you figure out what kind of equity they're going to have. If they need to sell this house to buy something else, you're going to have to help them plan how they're going to get from that house to the next house. It's nice to know when they first bought the house, why they loved it. That's what this question is. What sold you on your home? What was the thing about this house that you loved? Because the next buyer may like that same thing or they may not. But why did this family like that home? That will give you some clues as to what they might be looking for in another home in the future. One of the specific questions, what features did you like about this home? Have you updated anything since then? You said, oh, you really didn't like the kitchen when you moved in, but now you updated and you have this lovely kitchen now. Tell me why you love your kitchen now. What's your best feature about it?
Mhm.
Let them share their experiences about the house with you, because then you get to know them better and you get to know the house better. Ask them what they owe on their home. Not everybody knows what their mortgage is. They don't pay attention. They pay their bill every month. They get that little thing at the end of the year that they're not sure what it is from the county assessor, and they file it. If they aren't sure, then you need to see if they would give you permission to talk to their lender or their banker, or ask them to request a current amortization. Good morning. Come on in, Angel. Because amortization will tell you where they're at in their mortgage. And you need to know that when you're getting ready to sell it, because you're going to have to be helping them with all the payoff stuff in the title company. And then if you've never met these people and they're interviewing you, you could ask them what the 3 things they would like to see in a realtor, kind of see what their comfort zone is with realtors, make sure you're going to be a good fit. Most people you can work with, but not always. Sometimes it might be more appropriate they work with somebody else with a different personality or whatnot. So it's just helpful to try to see, if you guys are connecting well. It's nice to ask them if they're interviewing other brokers. Because then you're not the only one in line, or if you're the only person they've talked to. Ask them if they've considered selling by owner and why they would think that would be helpful. Then you would have an opportunity talking about why it's better to use an agent. We provide more expertise. We can guide them through the process. We understand the paperwork. And then that gets you to the whole question of the commissions, which we'll be going over later. So that's just some general stuff, and you don't have to go through this line by line, but these are general things to think about when you're talking to somebody about selling a home. These are the different kind of questions and where different conversations you could have and where the conversations might lead. These are the kind of questions you need to focus on, unless they bring something up. If they want to talk about something about the home, then make your notes, because they might want to share things that you hadn't thought of, or they might have specific questions. But this is a general guideline. So this is your interview where you're getting some general information about the sellers and their house. Then you would go to the next phase. Let's see if I can go back to the other slide. Jumping back and forth isn't fun, but I think we're going to be able to do it.
Launch. Okay, yep.
Steps to working with a seller. Good morning, Leah. Okay,
Megan, do you mind if I ask a question real fast?
sure.
Those power tools, like the power tool pre-listing interview that
Mhm.
is listed here on the steps to working with the seller, would that have those questions like that you just went over? Would that have those questions to ask the seller on there?
Yes, you can
in
print
those-
it off online and you can
Okay.
take it with you. Have it in
I
front of
love,
you, yeah.
'cause, yeah, I've loved all of Kristen's power tools, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure
No,
that
I do.
that's,
I still, to this day, I print off the power tools and take them with me. That
they're
was just a good place to
fantastic
take your
resource.
notes also. I prefer
Love
to
it.
write notes versus typing in the computer as I go. So that's
Same.
just my style. But yeah, right here, it tells us, Ryan, up here, their power tools, seller information, and the pre-listing interview. That was what we just looked at. You can go on to the portal and get those documents. Yep.
Perfect. Because all online, all we're seeing right now is just the steps to working with the seller. That's all we've seen the whole time.
Oh, it didn't switch?
No,
Oh,
it didn't switch over. I
Well,
don't know
oops.
why. I don't know.
I don't
Maybe it's
either. Hold on a minute.
because I
Let's
figured
go
you were
back real
talking
quick.
about something else, but I was just gonna
No,
let you
no,
go.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I can't always. Let's just,
Do you just
Now
want to
can
like
you see it?
stop share and then start share again?
See, there's my Zoom guy telling me how this works. I appreciate that.
See,
I'm
I
not a
know all
Zoom.
those-
Oh, shoot.
those
I'm not a
old,
Zoom person.
all those old tricks and trade coming out again.
Okay, go big so I can see my controls. And then there. Share. There we go. Look at that. All right, so real quick,
Perfect.
let's go back over that so you guys can see it. This is the pre-listing interview document. You should have, yeah, remind me next time. I got to stop share and then reshare. It has this whole section up top to get their personal information. Sorry, it's my contractor. All right. To get all their personal information. And like I said, you need to want to make sure you find out who are the decision makers versus who is the owner. They're not always the same person. So you'd want to get all their, sometimes I'll even flip this piece of paper over so I can get all the information about the different people involved. If it's a couple, you want both of their information, not just one. You want to always make sure you're doing things in tandem. So these are the questions. Why are you selling? When do you need to move? Describe your home. How long have you owned it? What sold you on your home? Those are all the questions I just went over there. They're line by line, you go down the list. Then at the bottom, it gives you the suggestions to do the pre-listing packet, property preview appointment, and the listing appointment. You don't always do everything in one step because you have to kind of go do some research in between each step of working with the seller. You want to learn about their house enough to go back now and do some research on the MLS to pull it up, see what history you find on it, see what the comps are doing in that neighborhood for a home and their condition, their size, their style. And then you're going to have a second appointment with them to kind of explain the comps and what you think is going on in their neighborhood and give them some information. So now let's see if I can get back to that one.
Dominic said he can't see anything on the screen.
Huh.
Well, it's not showing on mine.
Yeah, it just says this, Kristen has started sharing or
Oh.
screen sharing, but
Okay.
no, nothing. except
Well,
that.
let's see if we can figure that out. Let's do screen share
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Share. Can you guys see that?
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Just needed another little
Yep.
nudge.
Okay, so there. So this, when you go into the Power Tools, this one is called the pre-listing interview. So you can go find it based on that title. And I've saved a lot of these to my own laptop. I just made a folder for my Power Tools, so I don't have to go to the portal every time and find them. Okay, so let me stop share. Let me try to go back to the other one and see if it works. I can find that one. Can't remember. Let's just go pull it up. Oh, no, it's right there. See if it finds it. Resume share. I'm sorry. Screen share. No, it's the same one. I'm trying to get to the other one. Let's go back here. Steps to working with the seller. Let's open it up again. Can you see that? Did it work?
It's just showing black screen now. It's
Okay.
just saying,
Yeah, I can't see it either. The same
Okay,
little rainbow wheel
Trying
of
again.
death.
So click that one and share. Did it work? It says resume share. I clicked that, Brian, and it still doesn't resume.
yeah, it's like it's trying to see your screen right now, but
Okay.
all it's saying right now, it's like it's wanting to show screen share,
Stop share.
but then on our side, it's just
Mm-hmm. No,
black
please do
screen.
suggestions.
Um,
Laura.
When you go to share, are you sharing the whole desktop screen? Or are you sharing just that one?
I'm trying to just
application.
pull up that one file, image.
Okay. What's it in? Like, what's this file? What program is the file in?
Ooh,
Is it like
Notes.
Word? Oh, it's in Notes.
I think it's in notes. Yeah.
If you share, are you able to just share your whole desktop screen?
Possibly.
And then because then you'd
Somebody
be
with
able-
more
I don't
knowledge is
know.
gonna help
I've-
me.
I've done it a little bit
You-
for the
you
team.
go, girl.
Let's see.
Because they all know this is not my forte.
All host shares, how many participants? Huh. Oh no, it's weird.
Yeah, we are on full share, I think.
Oh, here, let's
Huh.
lightly in here.
Yeah.
If you go up at the top, when you click on
Mhm.
share,
Mhm.
uh, in there at the top,
Oh.
does it say like desktop one, desktop two, big screen?
Yeah. Yeah.
If we
Well,
share just the
It
screen
says
one or the
desktop
desktop,
one is what we're sharing on.
okay, let's try desktop one
Try
and
what?
see if that just try desktop one and see. So
Okay.
now we're seeing, of
Okay.
course,
There-
Now you can click and I think it'll automatically.
Okay, hold on a minute.
yeah, and now we're seeing we're seeing your
Seeing
uh,
everything you see.
beautiful
Yay. Okay, so
picture. There we
now,
go. Perfect.
there
Yep,
we go. Oh,
that
thank
works.
you. Okay,
Hey,
So-
that's why I worked for Zoom forever,
I love it. So that was
Now-
step one, was this pre-listing interview. That's the document we were just looking at. So then there's this, we have another power tool. Step two is called pre-listing information. I could try to share it too. It is a document that you give to the seller, and it gives them a list of everything they need to start thinking about to get ready to sell their home. Things that you're going to need as the agent, things that they're going to need as the seller. And I will try to pull one up
I
because
think
it
you should be able to do it pretty.
go back, stop share.
No, just kind of go.
Just
like,
go to
work
my
on your-
documents.
Yeah,
Yep.
'cause I
Okay.
think we're able to see everything you do.
Okay, let me
Yep.
find it.
Including your beautiful family. behind
That,
you.
yes, that's my son's wedding.
Oh,
Guys, I remember what it's called. It's a pre-listing packet. I just used it the other day. See, these
okay,
are all of
Power Tool
Kristen's.
pre-listing, is that it? Or no?
No, that's the
Okay.
pre-listing letter, pre-listing checklist. Let's try this one. Nope. Pre-listing interview, that's one we just did. Well, they're also in my listing presentation. So just a second. All right, pre-listing packet. Here we go. Okay, pre-listing packet. This is a document I give to my sellers. Can you guys see all that? Can we minimize this? There we go.
Yeah, we see it.
It tells the seller things they need to start looking for. We need to know their current mortgage balance. We need to know about any second mortgages or HELOCs they have. They need to start focusing on the seller's disclosure. So I leave a blank copy of that for them. They need to see if they can remember all the upgrades and repairs and remodels they've done to their house. Give me information. So all the things that I'm going to need to help them sell this home effectively. This is a list I leave with them. They give them the seller's homework. Things that they need to think about, that you need to know. Any mechanic liens on this house because of renovations they've done. Are they in a probate? Did somebody die? You need to know that. You need to know who their attorney is. Or they're in a divorce situation. You need to know who their attorney is. IRS liens. The home ever been involved in a bankruptcy? Anybody in the house ever take a bankruptcy? Even if they think it's been satisfied and they're past the 7-year window, you need to know that because you need to look that up and make sure. There still could be something attached to that house. Do they owe child support? They may have a child support lien on that house if they're behind. These are things they need to think about and let you know if they're involved in any of these things. Are they an investor? Are they selling it as a 1031 tax exchange? You need to know that up front because it's a lot cheaper to do it up front than it is at the end. So those sorts of things. Then this also has this whole page of things for the seller to consider. What kind of home staging they want to do, what's going to stay in the house, things they want to take with them that might be unusual. If they do want grandma's old antique mirror hanging on the wall, then they're going to have to remove it before you list the house. Because anything typically hanging on the wall that's attached stays. So you have to kind of explain that to your seller and walk them through those things. Talk to them about the benefit of doing an inspection. Sometimes sellers like to do a pre-listing inspection so they know exactly what may or may not be right or wrong with the house. And then they can work through some of those things before the buyer even sees it. So this gives them some general information about things to consider when selling the home. They could offer a home warranty to the buyer if they want to cover some of the things that might be older. Talk to them about what kind of financing they're going to accept from a buyer. If their home needs a lot of updates and it's got some structural problems, You may not want to try to go FHA or VA because they're much more strict on their loan requirements. So you need to consider that and talk to the sellers about those options. Do they want professional photography done? Do they want open houses or do they just want to do showings? Do they want
that's
showing
interesting.
feedback?
Less
Mhm.
than 5% of homes are sold as a result.
Yeah. Open houses you
house.
generally do because you're looking
Yeah.
for lead gen.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily help sell the home.
that's
It
interesting.
gives people an opportunity to come through on a weekend when they don't have to worry about getting hold of their agent.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But in the future, with our buyer agency agreements having to be in place, I'm not sure you can go, I'm not sure how they're gonna handle people
Yeah.
walking in
They're still
independently
kind
at
of
open
in the
houses.
process of figuring that
So I
out.
think some of this, the open houses are probably gonna change a little bit as we move forward based on what the
Yeah.
NAR rules decide.
Mhm.
But right now, yeah, occasionally somebody will walk into an open house and go, oh my God, I love this house
Yeah.
and want to buy it. But
But not.
that's
Yeah.
not, they're out searching for homes at open houses, not necessarily that's the one they're gonna
Yeah.
buy, but. And then showing feedback if they want to get that feedback. As an agent, it's helpful to see the feedback, even if it's, as the seller thinks negative, it gives you an idea of what other people's interpretations are of that home, and you may want to make some modifications. So it is more presentable. If everybody says, oh my God, that red wall is just too much, well, then maybe you ought to paint the red wall, solve your problem. So it's nice to have that feedback. It sometimes can be difficult for the sellers to hear, just like Kristen says, people love their houses and they don't like to have people criticize their house.
But as an
But-
agent, you
But at the
can
same time,
kind of massage the wording.
you can just say, I understand that you love this feature, but it's very unique, or it is hard sometimes to word it where you're not
People don't like.
setting them.
My
Makes changes.
stepsister said it's something like, we're taking the home out of the house.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
Oh, that is clever.
Yeah.
Yes.
The home,
So
not the
that
house.
the
Yeah.
buyer can see themselves
In
in
in that space instead of seeing your lovely family here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good way to put it. I like that.
I like
Okay.
that, writing that
Yeah.
down.
Okay, we're gonna go back to. Power tools and boo up. It's kind of a pain jumping back and forth. Thank you guys for being so patient. All right, so steps to working with the seller. So step 2 then is that whole pre-listing information packet. Let them start thinking about all the things they need to gather to get that home ready to sell. They need to fill out a seller's disclosure, depending on the age of the home. How old does the house have to be for us to need lead-based paint?
78,
1978, good job.
46. Oh.
Yes.
You're so young.
Oh.
Now, this power tool called the utility cost record. There's another power tool called, and it literally has a column for all the different utility companies and all 12 months, and people can go in and do the research, what they paid each month for the utilities. Gives the buyer a great perspective on what that, month to month, seasonally, what the utilities run in that house.
Do you include that with like the docs then? Like on
You
MLS?
can, if
Or
your
you
client,
just
if your
have
seller's willing to
If-
do it, I just provide it to
Okay.
the buyer who gets the,
If-
wins the offer. I don't include it in my documents in MLS, no, but I would share it
just have
with the
it in
buyer.
case.
Yep. And then talk to them, that last section on the pre-listing at packet was all about these other things to consider when you're selling your home, the staging, the pre-listing, the showings, the feedback. Go through those items with the seller and say, what's your comfort level? Do you want to use your own furniture? Are you going to have things moved out? You have all your personal pictures up. Your son has his gun collection upstairs. Some of these things I suggest we go ahead and start storing away right now. We want your personal things out of the home. We want expensive jewelry, firearms secured, things that might be an issue for buyers walking through when, particularly if you're not home, you want to make sure that your belongings are secured. So I always recommend they start putting that stuff in storage. Getting it in boxes in the garage or removing it from the premises completely, depending on what it is. Because, people go in and they open up the bathroom cabinets. They want to see what the vanity looks like underneath. You don't want your jewelry box underneath there.
I was told once to tell your clients to, if they're taking narcotics, to take them out of the medicine cabinet.
Yes, yes.
Because you don't know who's previewing your house and they'll go in there and take your Xanax. So
Yes.
take-
Yeah.
Yes.
they're- Yeah.
So talk to them about that, about staging the home. Staging the home is not just what it looks like for the buyer walking in, but it's how are you going to protect all your belongings?
Mhm.
Because if you leave them there as part of the staging, then
Yeah.
they're exposed. So, and those, power tools, things in the garage. I mean, there's lots of things to consider. So depending on the home and what they own, then you have to help, kind of guide them through that. And it's a polite way to say, remove your personal belongings, because that helps with the clutter issue that many people have.
Mhm.
Because a decluttered house is a much better presented home. And if they can remove as many personal belongings as possible, that helps. And people like us who cook every day, my kitchen counters are covered with kitchen stuff. Because I don't like to take it in and out of the cabinets. It's inconvenient because I use it every day. But for staging purposes, it's very nice to have all the appliances put away, all the knife racks, everything in a cabinet underneath, so you see that beautiful clean countertop and maybe one vase of flowers instead of all the kitchen equipment.
Yeah.
So just helping guide your family through that. And same with the bathrooms. Put all your medicine away, put all the shampoos away, all the things that live on your vanity need to be put in a box and put in the closet. So just all you see is the vanity. So those things are helpful for getting people ready to list. Some people can do that in a weekend, some need 3 months. So that's why it's so important to talk about what their timeline is for moving versus how much time you're going to need to actually get it ready.
Mhm.
And maybe if they need some help, you suggest an organization company, or you suggest an estate plan company that they could work together with to help get that house ready to list in a shorter period of time.
Mhm.
So you have to kind of look at the seller's needs. All right. So then your next step is you're going to actually go preview the house. A lot of these things, I often go to the home and just kind of do all my pre-listing at the same time I'm viewing the house. Some people prefer to do it on the phone first or meet in the office first and have this conversation. Then you have a second meeting where you go to the house and you actually see it in person, take a few pictures, get a feel for the home, take a tour, make some notes about things that the condition of things.
Be knowledgeable of what you're selling.
Be knowledgeable, because many people, I mean, we all are accustomed to this. You have an issue in your house that you just grow used to. The kitchen faucet drips when you turn it off, unless you don't turn the handle just at that right angle. Well, that's the kind of thing that the buyer is going to immediately notice. And so our job as agents is to try to identify some of those things and then gently tell the seller that we have some things that probably need to be taken care of before we get ready to list.
Mhm.
Like, the water leak from the toilet from 6 years ago that nobody ever painted the ceiling. But the rust stain's still there,
Yeah.
that kind of thing that,
The leak is fixed, but you need to.
yeah, but you never
Yeah.
took care of the cosmetic stuff. A lot of people do that, the leak's gone, they don't worry about it anymore, and they get used to seeing the stain on the ceiling, they just forget about it.
Yep.
So those sorts of things, you have to walk through and kind of notice those things. Does the carpet need to be cleaned? Just little things that might help. Does it smell like kitty cat?
Mhm.
Things that you're gonna have to address.
Mhm.
And then I just kind of have my little notepad, and I just kind of make some notes. And then I go back and look up my comps and, get those things ready to show them the nice homes in the neighborhood and the other homes in the neighborhood. And then kind of, where do you think yours house falls in between these two? And now we have that issue of that stain in that ceiling, and the carpets are kind of, showing their age, and, what do you think?
Julie says, can I get more from the sale how much more can I get from the sale if I do all these things? How do you explain that answer?
Well, there will be a home in the neighborhood that has been completely renovated.
Okay.
And it sold for 330, and we go in and we look at those pictures. Wow, look at what they did. It has a new kitchen. They pulled out that old carpet. It's got all new faux hardwood floors in it. It's got 2 new bathrooms, and wow, they put a new roof on too.
Sold in X number of days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sold the next,
How much
just kind of
it
point
costs.
out, yeah, and just say, so they've got all the way up to 330. Well, the house in the other home in the neighborhood that's more similar to yours probably only sold for 260. Well,
It's like when you do an open house, you research the neighborhood and
Yeah.
see what the other houses that was fully rehab, what they sold for.
Yeah.
And then you can have that knowledge and say,
Mhm.
well, if you update this kitchen.
Yeah.
You can't guarantee. We
Yeah.
can never guarantee, because we'll put ourselves in a bind.
right.
You can say.
Could.
That could be
We
a
could.
$600
We,
fix. So.
that $600 fix can
Right.
possibly, can't guarantee it, net you $1,000
Yeah.
more.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it puts you in competition to be able to be at more competitive with the other homes in the neighborhood that have been updated. So in theory, that's gonna elevate your market value as well. I can't guarantee you it's gonna give you more market value, but you're gonna be much more competitive with that other home that did
Exactly.
sell for 330. So
Mhm.
maybe if you made those improvements, we could list, what do you think? Somewhere between 300 and 315. What's your comfort zone?
Mhm.
And get the seller to kind of think about that. It's like, how much money do you want to invest? Do you want to just do a few $1,000s, or do you want to actually redo your kitchen?
Mhm.
You need to decide what level of improvements you want to put into the home. Or market it, list it at a price where you know that the new people moving in are going to need to do those updates themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's two philosophies there,
You can market it with full disclosure, the house needs some love.
right?
Price
We
according.
priced it right,
Yeah.
because we know, if you know the house needs $100,000 worth of improvements, then you price it accordingly, so they know, okay, I know that if I
Don't
pick
ask,
this house,
Yeah, for lower.
it's gonna be worth 500,000,
Mhm.
and I'm getting it for 2, so, yeah, like that.
So those are the different strategies depending on your seller's comfort zone. Do they want to list it based on not making the improvements, or do they want to try to get more market value and make those improvements? But you need to see what their budget is.
Mhm.
It doesn't, depending on the home and the price point, it doesn't always make sense for the seller to invest $30,000 on a HELOC to fix the house if they're only going to get 10 or 20 more out of it to sell.
Yeah.
Versus if it's a couple of $1,000 repairs, the bathroom needs one new little vanity and paint that red wall. And then your house has a completely different look. Little things sometimes. Just new light fixtures and hardware in a kitchen can make a huge difference. You don't have to remodel the kitchen. You just
Yeah.
change out the knobs on the cabinets. Or maybe give it a fresh coat of paint.
That's why it's important to know the neighborhood, because you don't wanna recommend they get a luxury rehab when the neighborhood is a Home Depot rehab.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know.
And vice
then you'd be
versa.
overpriced.
If they're in a beautiful old home in Leawood, you don't want them to do a Home Depot remodel on the
Exactly.
kitchen
Stick out.
and think they're gonna get 800 grand for the house.
Tell my husband that.
So,
Feed board.
and these are hard conversations to have with your sellers, but you need to be realistic. That's why you go do the comps in that neighborhood. Like my little house out in Blue Springs, all the comps were between, like, I had 227 to 330,
Mhm.
huge range.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, we're gonna fall somewhere in the middle. Your parents' house looks like it's from 1986 because it is.
Yeah,
And it's solid. There's not a thing wrong with it. It's just dated.
yeah.
So I said, I don't think we're gonna be able to get 330, but we can probably get somewhere in the middle. Especially since they don't want to do anything to it. But somebody has the potential to go in there and have a lovely new ranch home with a few
Yeah.
updates.
Yeah,
Because it's a solid brick house.
Yeah.
Those are hard to find.
Yeah.
yeah.
So then that would be step 3. So you're going to do your step 3 and step 4. You do your research. You're going to figure out the comps in the area, the values, what recommendations you might make. These are kind of your options. Sell it as is and without making any improvements, knowing we're in this price range. And you never give them a dollar amount. You say this price range, we're between, 240 and 260 maybe. And then if you want to make some improvements, depending on how much you want to spend, then we might be able to get up to that 330 price. But look at everything they did to this house. It's basically new. Do you want to hire a contractor to do that, or do you just want to sell mom's house? I mean, they have to make that decision.
Yeah.
Most people selling their home don't want to do all those renovations like a flipper would. They're not an investor. That's not their interest, but it could be. So, and then you try to make up a little mock flyer, either on Canva or in Command. There's all kinds of designs. So where you could go present them with kind of what, like, a coming soon flyer would look like for their house. So you have a picture of the front and some descriptions and stuff. It's nice to give that to the seller, kind of help them get some ideas what the marketing will look like. Because part of what they're hiring you for is to market their home.
Could you bring past ones you've used for other houses? Just like, these are examples I've
Sure.
used for other houses.
Especially if it's a
too,
similar
just so that I
neighborhood.
don't have to think it up. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to personalize it,
Yeah.
but you could definitely say, no, especially if like you were on a team, you have access to,
Yeah,
we sold a
yeah.
home in Blue Springs the other day. Here's a flyer we use for that, that
Yeah,
home.
yeah,
Oh gosh,
start
I love those
collecting.
colors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sure. Get some ideas of what people like. Just help them know that this is your part of your marketing strategy is to, present their home in the best possible way. And you're going to do it in different, on Facebook, through our email blast, through the MLS. And you have all these resources for them. So they like to know that. So if you go, when you're getting ready for your actual listing appointment, where they're going to start signing, so you've done all this work. I guess we should backtrack. You've talked to them several times. You got a couple of general pictures of the house. You've given them their comps. They've kind of decided that they're not going to remodel. They're just going to sell it as is. They like this price range. Maybe we're going to think about 260, 270. They're still trying to decide on what to list it for. Now this might have been 2 months ago when you had the first conversation with them. So you probably should rerun your comps again to see if anything else has changed in that neighborhood. We have a couple of new sales where we're either up or down on the price value. That'll help them decide how to be current in the market on their price. And then you're actually going to go in with all the paperwork they need to sign, because now they're getting ready to actually want to list and sell. Now, my biggest beef with being a listing agent is that they have to sign the document. You have to be ready within 24 hours to put it live on MLS. So
Yeah, and if you sign it late,
that's all. So part of what you can do if you are, feeling very confident that these people are going to, you have a verbal commitment, you're going to be working together, we're going to list the house in September. Great. Then I start working on the MLS stuff now, because it takes a few hours to put in and it takes you a while to go find what you need, because you can start putting in an MLS listing and have it be on no status at all and just save it as incomplete.
Yeah, okay.
So you can at least go in there and go back to it and start figuring out, because once you're ready to list it, you have to have all this other stuff done ahead of time. You have to get all your pictures ready. You have to get all your room measurements ready. You have to have your description of the home ready. You have to help the seller decide what title company they're working with. And, you have had the financial discussion. Which kind of lending do you want to accept? Because you have to put all that information in MLS.
And if you get ready, I got fined once because if you and I have to share this, I get everything in MLS. I didn't have a picture.
Oh, yeah.
So if your photographer is not ready with your photos, snapshot one with your phone and upload it.
Yeah.
Because I got fined my $50 for not having a picture
Yeah.
when it went live.
Right. You don't have to have pictures of all the rooms, but you do have to have a picture of the front of the
You
house,
gotta
ideally.
You
You
gotta
have to
have
have
a picture.
one picture on MLS when you go live. You can,
when you go live.
if you're
When you go-
pre-MLS, you can have that generic picture that you see sometimes.
Yeah.
But when you're ready to go live, you have to have at least one picture.
And then you can upload your professional pictures after,
Right.
but you gotta have that one.
Right.
Because KCRER love them, but they're very notorious about their $50
Yeah.
fine.
They're serious about their rules.
Mhm.
If they say you have to do it within 24 hours, they mean it.
Right.
So, and then remember other very important things that we have to have ready for the listing to go live are all back up here in this pre-listing packet. You have to have your seller's disclosure done and signed by the sellers. You have to have your lead-based paint done and signed by the sellers. And then if there's anything that's unique about that house, let's say, they did do house pre-inspections and they put on a new roof and there's a warranty where you're going to need the pre-inspection ready to list on MLS. Ideally, you give a little type up note about the roof and its warranty. You just want to give information about the home so that all has to be ready to go and uploaded in MLS also when you go live. You have 24 hours to put those supplements in technically,
Exactly.
but it really makes no sense to go live and not have your supplements listed. That's so annoying when you see a new house and you're like, oh, my client, I love this place. You go, there's no seller's disclosure. I mean, it's just why as an agent that you don't just have everything ready to go before you go live. I mean, just plan it that way.
Yeah.
Because it's so frustrating for the other people out there when the information's not available.
And pre-inspections, you keep mentioning, I always tell my sellers, actually, do a pre-inspection on your house, spend the money, because
Worth it, yeah.
the buyer might say, oh, wow, they did a pre-inspection.
Mhm.
That can save me money. If it's done within the same amount of time,
Yeah.
they can use that same inspection,
Mhm.
Yes.
and that saves the buyer's money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Little
that's a
incentive.
big perk. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
there's a
big
gal on
part.
our team that does that for all,
Mhm.
like she, all
Mhm.
her houses, and it is a
Yep,
nice.
and
like,
then
perk.
when you upload that, they say,
There's
oh,
no,
the buying agent tells their
Private.
buyer, saying, hey, they've already done an
Yeah.
inspection on this house, here's the full report.
yeah,
Then
Yeah.
you can see what big things there are, what small things are, and then you could possibly
Fix it if you
negotiate
need
with the
to.
seller and maybe get something worked out. Yes, I like that too.
And if it's an anxious seller, it would
maybe help.
alleviate, yeah,
Yeah.
give them some heads up
Mhm.
so they know what to expect on the feedback.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go back to the listing appointment itself. So all of these things you have to have ready before your listing appointment. Because there, we're going to actually talk about the exclusive right to sell. And make sure that you have, by then you should have a definite plan for the strategy on how you're gonna sell this home. You should have figured out all of the photography, the staging. If they're doing the pre-inspections yet,
Mhm.
if they have any, special financial issues we have to worry about. If there are any legal things to consider. If the house is in a probate, that is not a problem at all. You just need to identify that on the MLS first. It's in the little notes to the private notes to the other agents.
Mhm.
You say this house is involved in a probate, court in Johnson County or Jackson County or wherever. So then the buyer agent knows, because all that is getting the attorney involved and making sure that the court gets all the paperwork and that the court sends you an order. It doesn't complicate it, but you have to know those things. Same for bankruptcy. Or if there's a child support issue, if you know about it ahead of time, you put that on the MLS, the buyer agent knows, and you work through that together.
Mhm.
So those are the things, you have to have all those things lined up ahead of time before you actually list the house. Because it's not fun for the title company to come back to you 2 weeks later and say, oh, by the way, you got a tax lien and child support lien sitting on this house from, 2010. You're like, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Because you didn't think to ask. Now, sometimes sellers don't know. I mean, if they're elderly in particular, they sometimes are not sure.
Yeah.
But if you're not sure, or the family's not sure, I always ask my title company to run a little title check for me way before we were ready to list the house. Just see what's sitting out there.
Yeah.
That's why we have relationships with
That costs
Platinum.
money to run a title. check?
Typically, they'll run it for you for free, just
Yeah.
as a courtesy, because you use them for all of your
Yeah,
transactions.
yeah.
And if they charge something, it's very
Minimal,
minimal, it's
okay.
very.
It's like $100 or whatever, and you just include it in the, you're gonna, I just include it as an expense for the sale and it comes off on my taxes and.
Yeah.
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 That's just how you do business.
Yeah.
But those sorts of things, if the family is not sure, then I would, just reach out and try to get that information yourself ahead of time.
Mm.
Yep, and this says your exclusive right to sell. We haven't gone over one of those. We should probably do that at one of our meetings too.
Yeah.
Walk through these, what they look like. You need to have it pre-filled in and ready to sign. We typically do everything through Dotloop. You can print off a document if you're going to meet with people in person. They can hard sign something. You just scan it back into Dotloop. Not a big deal. If you don't want to use a computer at your interview for people to sign stuff with. And then you'd have a current CMA, do your comps again, and just say, okay, nothing's changed in the neighborhood, or hey, things have changed in the neighborhood. Last 2 homes sold at 345. Well, maybe we need to reconsider our price a little bit. You're getting there, they've gone up by $10,000. Are you still comfortable with 260, or do you think we should do something else? And have, let the buyer look at the comps and the pictures and compare it to the seller, excuse me,
Yeah.
compare it to their home.
What do you think?
Well, they always say, what do I
Yeah,
think?
yeah.
Everything is a full conversation, because even though the neighborhood could have increased, but their house still needs work.
Their house
we
still-
might
yeah.
Let's leave it at that price.
That's what I typically
Energy
suggest,
loss.
we're still in the lower range for the neighborhood.
Mhm.
And knowing that the homes that are completely remodeled are going for this amount, I think if we stay at the lower end, you're liable to get asking price for short, or maybe even more for it, because people see the benefit of buying in this neighborhood
Mhm.
and that you can get so much more out of your home later.
Yeah.
Every
Well,
time I have a
I-
as is, I try to do it on the lower end, and both I've had very good success where I've always gotten over asking price because
Right.
it allows a level of competition. It's like, she only listed that for 120 in that neighborhood. I got 142 out of my client was delighted to get
Yeah,
22,000
they're much happier than they-
versus listing it at 140 where I thought we would end up at
Yeah.
and risking not getting anybody bidding on it
Right.
because it was in need of everything.
Yeah. 'Cause
So
I know we can't say this, but technically, we're not only selling the house, we're selling the neighborhood.
yes,
Mm.
I mean, we can't put it on our paperwork, hey, great neighborhood, because we'll get fined again, but you know, you can, you can personally have that conversation
Yeah.
with your client. And once again, we can't tell them things about the neighborhood, but we can direct them to websites and say, hey, every neighborhood has their own website. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't realize that.
Yeah.
Direct them to those websites.
Mhm.
Because ultimately, like, you can get more money because of this neighborhood.
Depending on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But you can't say that. We can't say that legally.
Right.
You know, but we can direct them.
mhm,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Anybody online have any questions? Any comments?
You have a question?
Yes, Leah's got a question.
I'm good. Oh,
All stretched
No,
out.
go ahead.
Who online had a question? You guys go first.
oh no, I'm okay. No worries.
Okay, Leah, what's your question?
Where was that chart you had with all the utilities and?
I didn't show that to you, but I will go, I'm gonna pull up the utility list. That is in here someplace. Utility cost form. This is what the utility cost form looks like. Everybody see that?
In the power tool?
It's in the power tools also,
Okay.
and it gives you gas, electricity, and water. You could probably over here on the side, I always, if they do like Casey Disposal, my trash company is, 4 times a year, I pay them $75 a quarter. So I just write out $75 a quarter for trash.
Mhm.
Just,
If there's like
and if there's,
HOA too. on
if there-
that?
yeah.
That doesn't change though, I guess. This is-
I mean, HOA is its own separate thing. We
Yeah.
didn't talk about that. Make sure you ask your homeowner about their HOA and any dues. And if they do have dues, what it covers. Because all HOAs are vastly different from neighborhood to neighborhood.
Mhm.
And some are very restrictive and some don't have any rules at all. So that's something I always double check. But this is what that looks like. And you can, like you said, down here at the bottom, you could put other information. If you know the HOA is 150 a year and it doesn't cover anything, it's just a fee.
Mhm.
Where in the power, there's like 300.
There are a lot of power tools. Is there a search bar? Can you type in utilities? I went years ago and I pulled in all the ones that I used most regularly and just saved them on my own on my own laptop, in my own folder, instead of having to go to the portal every time. But it is in there someplace. If not, send me an email and I can send it to you. But there's lots of these power tools. They're very helpful. And
I actually do have a quick question. So this video and everything we've talked about, that'll go on the Facebook page,
Yes.
correct? Okay,
Yes, these are
awesome.
reported
Just such great
and then they're-
information.
Yep, they're uploaded later.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep, let me try to get back to that one. Working with the seller. So these are just to make sure you remember these 5 basic steps. Depending on your client and their needs, sometimes you have more than one appointment, 2 or 3 or 4. It just depends on them and how long it's going to take to get the house sold, what you need, what needs to be done. I mean, I had one lady in Independence. She'd inherited her home from her uncle. So we were still dealing with all the probate stuff. And it was full, and I mean full, from top to bottom, the entire basement, the entire ranch, and the entire garage. And it took us literally 8 weeks and every weekend going through, because she was trying to find all her personal family heirlooms in all the hoarding
Just want
mess.
someone to come and take it.
She did not want a haul away company,
So
which
did you
was
help
my,
with it?
Wow, you are
Whoa.
the definition of above and beyond.
Yeah.
I would go over and I wouldn't, stay, but I would go check on her every weekend and just make sure things are going okay. And yeah, because the attorney would call me every few weeks. How are we doing? Oh, we're still cleaning out, but we did find, grandpa's 2 World War II, whatever's we were looking for. And So you do have to be very, very patient, and because every seller has different needs. And so, yes. But so this is helpful to realize that, you know, it doesn't always take just 1 or 2 meetings to get ready to sell a home. You might be over there several times, particularly with older people. Like I had other client, they were relocating to, you know, senior living. And so we had to coordinate with the senior living company when their apartment would be ready and how we're going to get all their stuff from their home to their apartment, and they had the buyout, and we needed to coordinate the sale and how they're going to get the buyout funds. And there's just a lot of things in each sale is different. So you just have to realize that they're all unique, and that you're going to have to keep notes, just keep notes on everything that goes on, because you're not going to remember all the details and you're going to need them. And don't be afraid to deal with other companies or lawyers or whatever. They're usually very helpful, and you need their assistance. And if you do have families who have homes in a probate, ask if there's any trusts involved. And if there's a trustee, you need a copy of the trust. There are powers of attorney involved. You need a copy of the power of attorney. There's a court order out there on the way the home is to be sold. You need a copy of the court order. Because it's not hard, but you just need to see those documents, and they need to be part of the file, because the lender needs to see them, title company needs to see them. Everybody's got to play by that same rule. Whatever that trust says for the trustee to sell that home, that's the way it's getting sold.
And Linda will tell you that needs to be on the contract. It's not the homeowner if it's in a trust.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's
Right.
Whoever,
Yeah.
whoever,
Yeah.
it's whoever is in charge of that trust.
So it'd be the Dicus Family Living Trust,
Mhm.
and then trustee is Mr. Dicus.
Yeah.
And so you have to have in your contract, the seller is the Dicus Family Living Trust.
Yeah.
I got caught, not bad, but any word, the
Yes.
changes on the
Mhm.
contract, and
Yes.
you have to have everybody sign.
You do,
it. So it's
yeah.
just-
Legal documents, whatever the document title is, has to be word for word in all of your real estate documents.
Yeah.
You can't, they have to match. Yep.
Yeah.
And if not, you just have to do an amendment.
I've sold two houses where the trust was under the lawyer's name.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
the lawyer was the one that
Signing
has to
everything.
sign everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there can be family members, there can be lawyers, there can be trust companies that manage a trust.
Mhm.
So that's why it's always important to ask those questions that's on that pre-listing packet. They're specifically there to make sure the seller thinks about those 7 things that might have some legal ramifications. And particularly if it's a family member helping another family member sell the house, they may not know.
Yeah.
So that's why the title company comes in handy. Let them do a search, see if you find anything out there. You can also request from the county the home is in a copy of the last deed on file, because that will often tell you, oh, it was put into a deed of trust, or, oh, it was quitclaimed from some other family member. It gives you some historical knowledge to track down who that current owner really is.
Would you be able to see that on, I guess, not on MLS based on the history?
Sometimes if another agent knew about it and put it in there, sometimes on Realist, when you go look at the tax
Yeah.
history, down at the very bottom section of Realist, it has the mortgage history on there, and you sometimes can see that it used to be in a trust or used to have a different family member's name, and it'll say quitclaimed in, 2012. You're like, oh, well, let's get a hold of that family member. Make sure that they still don't have any interest in this house.
Yeah.
Just because you quitclaim deed something, if it wasn't done properly through a lawyer, it doesn't mean it happened. So all those, Realist is a really good resource on the history of what happened to the home based on who filed for the financials, who's got the mortgage coverage.
The quick claim is basically like they just gave it.
They quitclaim their interest in the home over, meaning they don't want to have interest in it in the future, but it doesn't mean their name's not on it anymore.
Okay.
So those are
They
just,
still have to get their name off of it.
sometimes you
It
have to
needs to
include
be-
them, the title company would have them sign an extra sheet of paper to remove them completely from the deal.
Okay.
Yes. Then the title company is the one that handles all that, or a lawyer if one's involved.
Yeah.
You as the agent aren't responsible for those things. You just have to know they're out there, make sure they get taken care of.
Yeah.
So as everything with real estate, it's not simple. A lot of moving parts. And just like with the we had that steps from contract to close when you have a buyer under contract and all those things you have to remember to do. I use those when I'm representing the seller and I print off that exact same form and I still make sure that all those things are getting done on time.
Oh, you make sure that
Even though
buyers
the
do,
buyer agent
Yeah.
is responsible for
but
most
they
of
may
it.
not.
I want to make sure it's happening. And if I don't hear from them, I say, hey, how those inspections go? Did we get it done? Oh, would you mind just sending me your, I don't need to see all the details, but just send me, your inspection advisor, whatever you have. So I know it got done and I can put it in my file for compliance. Because we're still responsible to representing the seller's interest to make sure all those things happen.
Yeah.
So you still need to see almost everything. And you need to put it into command and you need to submit it for compliance purposes.
Mhm.
So keep, if you're never sure, obviously ask me or Angel or Kristen or any of the coaches,
Mhm.
but make sure you're not forgetting something. Because command, those list of documents tells you everything that's required. It doesn't tell you always what the extra things are.
Yeah.
So if there's anything extra you're not sure of, just ask us. But if anybody signs a document in a real estate transaction, pretty much it goes into command.
Yeah.
If it needed to be signed, it needs to be seen.
Needs to be-
I mean, that makes sense.
Oh.
So,
And if it gets re-signed, you gotta update.
yeah, then everybody needs to see that re-sign because typically got re-signed for a reason and everybody needs to know what that reason was. Either a name change or a date correction or an extension, whatever it is. Lender, title, everyone always needs to know those because that impacts what they're doing next. Or can, depending on what it is. Yep. Right, guys, thank you so much. This was fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome.
Thank
And
you.
yep, don't forget the 10 o'clock business meeting. We'll be talking about the NAR stuff, so it's important to
Be there.
Zoom in if you can't
And
be
that-
here in person. Every
That's
week from
on
now on at the
Facebook.
business meeting, David's gonna touch on the NAR stuff and just keep us updated. So make sure you're tuning into that because it's gonna impact all of us in less than 4 weeks.
And they put that on Facebook, like they have it in Zoom and then they just throw it onto Facebook.
They,
Been over there.
Business meeting.
yes, they try to record those and have them available also. And then once they
Okay.
At our spot.
once we actually get the new forms and all of that, those will be available to everybody immediately. Yeah.
Gotcha. Is there a live feed for today?
Yes, they're live. They're always on Zoom as well
Oh,
through
perfect.
Facebook, I believe.
What-
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay.
Well, awesome.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'll see you
You're
soon.
welcome. Yes, thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Megan.
Megan.
Have a great week.
You too.
Share and.
Send me that.